Amidst the tumultuous turmoil of the First Age, the seeds of Morgoth's downfall were sown. It began in the year 536 of the First Age with a lone hero, Eärendil, the Mariner. With the radiant Silmaril adorning his brow, Eärendil embarked on an awe-inspiring journey. He braved the enchantments of the treacherous sea and sailed forth to Valinor, the sacred realm of the Valar. Eärendil, a living mortal, stood as the first of his kind to set foot upon the hallowed shores of Valinor. Eärendil bore a vital mission, a plea for pardon on behalf of the Noldor, the elven people who had been ensnared by the Dark Lord Morgoth's malevolent grasp. Before the powers of Arda, Eärendil spoke with a heart full of hope and desperation, delivering the errand of the two kindreds. He implored the Valar for forgiveness and begged them to rescue his people from the clutches of Morgoth's tyranny. In that moment, the Valar were stirred by Eärendil's plea. The hosts of the West prepared for the epic battle that would shape the fate of the world. Among them were some of the mighty Mare, led by Eönwë, as well as the Vanyar and Noldor who resided in Valinor. The year was 545 of the First Age, a time when the formidable host of Valinor made landfall in the ancient realm of Beleriand. Before them stood the unparalleled might of Morgoth, the Dark Lord, as he gathered his full strength. His armies were beyond measure, and the mountains themselves echoed with the roar of Valinor's host. The war, my friends, it raged like an inferno, consuming the entire north of Middle-earth in its fiery embrace. Battles of unimaginable scale and ferocity raged across the land. Heroes and villains clashed, their destinies intertwined in the blood-soaked soil of Beleriand. The very mountains trembled, and the heavens themselves bore witness to this epic struggle. The clash of weapons, the beat of war drums, and the blare of trumpets filled the air, painting a vivid tapestry of conflict and valor. And in this defining moment, the world held its breath, for the outcome of this cataclysmic clash would shape the course of history itself. Victory was not a distant dream, but a reality. As the sun set on the battlefield, Morgoth's forces faced their inevitable doom. The Balrogs, once feared demons, were vanquished, save for a few that fled into the depths of the earth, where they cowered in fear. The armies of orcs, once a relentless scourge upon the land, now lay defeated, their threat extinguished. It was a time when heroes emerged from the shadows, and the legacy of sacrifice was etched into the annals of Middle-earth's history. In the war's waning days, Morgoth knew that defeat loomed. Fueled by desperation, he unleashed a horrifying final assault that shook the very foundations of Middle-earth. The year 587 of the First Age saw the emergence of a terror previously unseen in Middle-earth: the great winged dragons. Among them, the mightiest and most dreadful was none other than Ancalagon the Black. These colossal creatures descended upon the battlefield like avatars of annihilation, their wings casting shadows over all hope. The arrival of Ancalagon the Black and his fiery brethren was nothing short of cataclysmic. The very skies themselves erupted in torrents of lightning and fire as these monstrous dragons descended upon the battlefield. Caught off guard and overwhelmed by the sheer destruction these winged terrors wrought, the forces of the Valar were driven back across the region. Morgoth's malevolent plan had dealt a devastating blow, and it seemed all hope was lost. But just when it appeared that darkness would swallow Middle-earth whole, a glimmer of hope emerged from the ashes. Eärendil, aboard his majestic skyship, the Vingilot, swooped down from the heavens to challenge the winged terror, Ancalagon the Black. Thorondor, king of the eagles, alongside a flock of giant eagles, assisted Eärendil in a tumultuous battle against the drakes. For a full day, they engaged in a celestial duel, their epic clash echoing across the realms. Eärendil, brandishing a Silmaril on his brow, clashed with the monstrous dragon, and in a final, glorious stroke, he brought Ancalagon down. Ancalagon's colossal body crashed upon the mighty peaks of Thangorodrim, shattering them to rubble and breaking the chains that bound Middle-earth in darkness. With Morgoth's greatest weapon defeated, the forces of the Valar and their allies rallied, reclaiming the ground they had lost. While Sauron showed some backbone, daring to stand at Barad-dûr, the mighty Morgoth, the supposed Dark Lord, turned tail and slithered away like a worm. Yes, in the final throes of his empire's collapse, Morgoth scurried to the darkest abysses of Angband, cowering and hiding from the impending doom. Morgoth's pits of torment were destroyed as the invading forces descended into the heart of Angband itself. And there, in the depths of Angband, justice awaited Morgoth. He met his fate, his doom sealed, and his treacherous reign came to a cataclysmic end. Cornered and defeated, he sought to negotiate for his survival, pleading for peace and parley with his triumphant adversaries. But his pleas fell on deaf ears, for the Valar and their allies had suffered too greatly, their lands scarred and their people in turmoil. And so, in an act of final justice, they struck down the once mighty Morgoth. His feet were hewn from under him, and the fallen god crashed to the cold, unforgiving floor of Angband. Morgoth, the once mighty and now vanquished Lord of Darkness, faced a final judgment unlike any other. Bound with the very chain, Angainer, that once confined him within the halls of Aman, he was powerless before the might of his conquerors. The two remaining Silmarils, the gems that had caused so much strife and suffering throughout the ages, were taken from Morgoth's grasp. They entrusted these precious relics to the Maya, Eonwë, a guardian to ensure their safekeeping. And then, in an act of ultimate justice, the Valar decreed Morgoth's fate. They thrust him through the door of night, beyond the walls of the world, into the timeless void. This, my friends, marked the culmination of the War of Wrath, an epic conflict that reshaped the very world of Middle-earth. If you've enjoyed this journey into the annals of Middle-earth, don't forget to join Krug's Legion of Conquerors. Hit those like and subscribe buttons, join the ranks, and let our banners fly high as we delve deeper into the lore and legends of this wondrous world.